A review of Swordsman VR got me thinking. How difficult is the game? Really? Just how difficult is the game? Really? Now, I got this question because I read reviews on Steam, and one review was kind of funny actually. It talked about how that the game seems to be too difficult for him, her. Like, they thought that getting hit 2 times and then dead was too much. It didn't really work for them, and the stats increased with strength and all that didn't do anything. Armor didn't do anything. I think I made a video on armor and I believe it did do something, but it doesn't do much. I will agree with that, but I mean, if you find yourself find yourself dying after 2 hits, well, get hit once, back off. Or just get better at head stabbing. But anyway, this is not about that review specifically. It's more about how difficult is Swordsman VR. Now, I've taken a look and, well, I would say I've taken a quick look at what can you do to just win. And as you can see by the gameplay here, it's quite bizarre. All you need to do is lift your weapon up at about head high for the enemy and just walk forward. Now you will have to aim the sword to their head, and if you aim good enough you will head stab the enemy and the enemy will fall down dead. It doesn't take any more than that. Now, the hard part would be the aiming. It's much more easier to head stab an enemy by doing a quick jab or thrust with the sword. But this works. I mean, just you see by the gameplay, it does work. The samurai faction is a little bit harder. Because of their attack animations, because they will try to attack you, but for some reason the enemy in the game attacks too soon. I mean, many of the slashes do actually miss. I mean, you can stand still and they will miss you, I've noticed. Anyway, the samurai can be a little bit harder to hit because generally their heads are a little bit smaller, I think, but mostly because of their movements, because they use their whole body when they attack more so than any other faction. And I think I don't know what, like all the other three are pretty similar to how difficult they are to head stab by doing this. Doing against a shielded opponent, it's slightly more difficult because they have a shield generally in front of them that makes head stabbing a little bit harder but doable. This strategy also works with axes, and it also works with maces, but I will add that maces are not a one-shot weapon even in the head, at least not as far as I've been able to do. But yeah, this makes Swordsman look very easy, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, just walk forward, head weapon raised, and right into their head it goes. Most of the time. Or 50-50 about. Now, of course, it is a little bit different depending on what difficulty you make. I've tried this on difficulty 1, 5, and 10. Now, of course, 10 is the hardest one to actually head stab them this way, but it still works. But I'm not encouraging this strategy. It is not a recommended strategy, but it does work much greater with like long-reaching weapon. Like the optimal weapon would be, I think, Solace, which is the boss weapon, the knight boss weapon, which I believe has the longest reach of any weapon in the game. So if you want to try this, we'll use Solace. Other than that, well, I don't have any recommendations for this kind of move strategy. Except don't try it. If you want to progress, that is. If you just want to play around, do that. But now the question came, if this is too easy, how can you make it harder? Well, the most obvious thing, unless you don't know about this, is of course to enable armor physics. Enabling armor physics will make head stabbing a lot harder. Because enabling armor physics will make it so that all the armor that the enemy is wearing will become impregnable, you could say. There are still eyelids, eye sockets, lids, slits, those small gaps in the armor that you can hit for the head, but doing that effectively while just moving forward is incredibly difficult. But I mean, you can do it. It's just not a good strategy again. If you want to defeat the enemy while armor physics is on, you have to attack the weak spots, and I do recommend watching my video on that. It's a bit older video, but it still holds true to this day. Now, of course, also I can point this out, maces do work against armor, much better than against armor than normal swords and axes do, because maces do use more blunt damage, and blunt damage will penetrate the armor and deal more damage than what bashing them with a sword would do. Striking the weak spots will do more damage with a sword most of the time than with a mace. But it is all fun and games, until you're dead, of course. But, as again, I don't recommend this strategy. Use maces against armor physics opponents, sure. But I mostly use swords anyway, because they have a longer reach. The maces aren't. They don't have the reach. I would like to see a two-handed mace added to the game. That would be cool. Try that thing. Try that. Although I can also point out that I did not check the weight simulation in this. You can adjust that to how much a big sword would weigh and how much it would wobble in one hand. I didn't try that, so that would also change a lot. It would change how well you can move a two-handed sword with one hand. And as you can see by the footage, wielding a two-handed sword in one hand, just moving forward, it's very easy to deflect it and make them like go away from their head. Although sometimes you're lucky and it sways back right into their head. But can you make it more difficult? Well, after doing the video on how by just walking forward in the arena, I played some progression. This is on the PC version, and I haven't defeated all the bosses in this one. So I went on and started doing the Mongol boss, and it made me think that it's too easy. It was too easy. I didn't play with armor physics on because I want to do this quickly. I have completed the game with armor physics, but I wanted to complete it just without it right now because do it quickly and get all the boss weapons and all that. But it was too easy. So I enabled hardcore. Hardcore makes it so that there's a chance or risk, depending on how you look at it, that 3 enemies will spawn. So 3 is the maximum amount of enemies that can spawn. But only with hardcore enabled. That will add some more to your reward if you like that. I also enabled something else. Can't remember what it was actually. But you see here, I enabled some additional things to make it more difficult for me, just so that I would earn a little bit more. You will earn more gold and XP for this, so that's a good way to get to that that achievement that has you earn 10,000 XP or whatever the goal was. But yeah, there are a lot of things you can make this game more easy or much more difficult for yourself. So saying that the game is too easy or too hard, well, I'm sure you can find a way to make it more hard. Or make it harder for yourself. At least that's my take on this, because I played Swordsman since it's launched, and there's so many things that have been added. There's so many things that have been added to the game that makes it more difficult and makes it easier. The developer have also said, they said during the, I wanna say Christmas live stream, the day just before, when they announced the multiplayer mode that's coming, they also talked about improving the AI, and they also did a kind of a New Year or Christmas shorts where they talked about improving the AI in this coming year, and I'm looking very much forward to that because the AI right now is good, but somewhat stupid. So I'm looking very much forward to this coming year for Swordsman VR. But what do you think about Swordsman VR? Is it too easy or is it too hard? Let me know down in the comments. I've been Swip and I too have a great life, and I hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye!